The Kyle Rittenhouse case is back in the news, with his attorney filing a new motion just as two states have bills proposed in his honor. This week, Tennessee State Representative Bruce Griffey introduced House Bill 1769, also known as Kyle's Law. The law would require the state to reimburse costs to a defendant who is charged with criminal homicide but found not guilty due to self-defense. Defendants would make a motion for reimbursement following their not guilty verdict and leave it to the court to determine how much the defendant is awarded. Representative Griffey, who we'll talk to in a moment, also plans to present Rittenhouse a proclamation honoring him as a hero. A bill very similar to Kyle's Law is also being considered in Oklahoma. Now, I have made it very clear in the past that I thought that Kyle Rittenhouse would be found not guilty. And I have also said that that was the correct legal verdict based on the evidence presented. In one of the cases, he was being chased down. In the other two, he was attacked. It was, in my view, a legal case of self-defense. But I also said it was ridiculous to make him out to be some sort of hero. Rittenhouse himself has said that on multiple occasions and says he now regrets having even been there, as he told Ashley Banfield.
If I would have known that I had to take 2 lives that night, I don't think I would have gone there, but we can't change that.
Just today, he had his attorney file paperwork so that he can get that AR-15 style rifle back so that it can be destroyed. Now, just like Kyle Rittenhouse, I think we need to move on, keep him out of our politics. Representative Bruce Griffey obviously disagrees with me. He represents District 75 in the Tennessee General Assembly, and he wrote and sponsored the bill. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. So there are 2 issues here. One is the law. The other is the proclamation. Let me start with the law and ask you this. If you go down this road of saying that the state should have to reimburse someone who is acquitted in this type of case, why not make the state pay every time a defendant is acquitted?
Well, thanks, Dan. Good evening. It's an honor to be on your show. I appreciate it. Look, that's an argument, but I feel like, you understand how much power the DAs have. And to me, the Kyle Rittenhouse case was an example of abuse by a district attorney going after a defendant for political purposes. We all saw the gun pointing at Mr. Rittenhouse's head. It's about to get his head blown off if he didn't have a weapon to defend himself. He'd probably be dead. We wouldn't be talking about it. So what this bill tries to do is to say, defendants who are found not guilty, justifiable self-defense, the judge will poll the jury, and they will have to decide unanimously that it was legitimate self-defense by a preponderance of the evidence. The judge would have to decide that criminal conduct by the defendant was not involved to the extent that it caused the homicide to occur. So the judge has a lot of leeway. And then after that, the judge can review and see whether the prosecutor acted with malicious intent. And if found, then the DA would be referred to the state bar for appropriate.
Right, but let's agree that in any case where a prosecutor has malicious intent, the defendant has a variety of legal arguments, from an effort to try to actually sue the state to trying to punish the prosecutor, et cetera. So you don't need to add that, right, to a law that currently exists in any state, where if a prosecutor engages in intentionally malicious conduct to try to prosecute anyone in any type of case, that's the result. This kind of feels sort of anti-law enforcement, right? That's one of my concerns about it, is it feels like you're kind of taking on the prosecutors and saying, hey, if you get it wrong, my goodness, you go down this road, and I promise you, criminal defense attorneys around the country are going to be saying, I love that guy. I want to start doing that in my state. I want to start saying anytime someone's acquitted, let's get the state to pay up.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you. I think this is a situation where there was clear abuse. Where's the remedy for Kyle Rittenhouse? All his attorney's fees, is he going to get those back? Is the state going to reimburse those? What about his lost wages? What about the expenses for his experts for trial? Are they going to pay for all those? If he was indigent, that would be a factor that the court can certainly take into. But typically.
But my point is that's the same argument anyone who's acquitted can make, right? Anyone who's acquitted can make those exact same arguments, and the people who are going to be supporting you on that are going to be criminal defense attorneys around the country who I'm guessing you probably don't agree with on a lot of issues.
Well, and look, I trust the jury systems. And if you have a jury unanimously come back and say this prosecution should never have taken place, that's the situation I think a defendant should be entitled to get some compensation from the state. If the jury, because there's a difference between proof beyond a reasonable doubt and then, just by preponderance. They could find a defendant not proof beyond a reasonable doubt for a number of reasons. The state just did not get there. That doesn't mean a defendant isn't, might have violated the law and doesn't deserve compensation. But if you give the jury the ability to consider the case and say, should this prosecution have ever taken place, should we have been brought in here to court and waste our time on this case, and the jury comes back and says, no, I think that's an appropriate case for the court and the state to step in and go, you should be compensated for how you were treated.
All right. Well, I think you're going to have a lot of criminal defense attorneys across the country agreeing with you and a lot of prosecutors disagreeing with you. But let me ask you now about this issue about the proclamation. Look, Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't want to be a hero. It's time, isn't it time to move on? I mean, I guess I would assume you've got some constituents who think it's a great idea to name Kyle Rittenhouse a hero.
Sure, I do. I mean, I've got them on both sides of my constituency. Look, Kyle went there for, I think, honorable and noble purposes, to try to protect property and prevent crimes from happening. He was attacked by the liberal left there and these hoodlums. So it's unfortunate and sad that anybody got shot and died. And I completely understand Mr. Rittenhouse now saying he wished it never happened. I don't think any of us would wish it would ever happen. But I think you're for standing up for his community, trying to prevent this in crime, because the state wouldn't do it and the jurisdiction wouldn't do it.
But he wants to move on now. I mean, isn't it time to just say enough of trying to use Kyle Rittenhouse as some sort of political cudgel?
Well, anybody, we can have reasonable minds can differ over that. But my point is he is a hero to so many because he tried to stand up and protect his community. And if he had a legitimate law enforcement support in that community, this would have never happened. And this is the problem from the liberals. They have tried to defund the police. They've supported Black Lives Matter.
Look, you're not going to get disagreement from me. You're not going to get disagreement from me on some of the issues related to, some of the protests in 2020 and some of the far left positions. It's not relevant, though, to the question of, is it time to move forward and stop treating Kyle Rittenhouse like a hero? This is a guy who even agrees now he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have gone. He made a mistake by going. And instead of just saying, all right, he made a mistake and he shouldn't have been found, the verdict was correct, you want to sort of treat him like some great hero that even he doesn't want. You get the final word.
Okay. Well, look, reasonable minds can disagree on this. I think he is a hero for many, and I applaud his actions to try to protect his community. And I understand he had relatives who grew up in that community, had property. They were worried about it being destroyed. I think he went there with honorable purposes. He defended himself. He defended his life. If he hadn't had that gun, he'd probably be dead. So I understand people may want to move on. It's probably painful for people on the left that don't want to continue talking about this. But this case is where America is spiraling down to unless good, honorable Americans say enough is enough.
Well, I'll tell you, those of us in the middle also want to move on, and reasonable people like me who think that the verdict was correct, and I have said that, think that this whole thing is a bunch of sort of silliness and kind of nonsensical. But I did say I was going to give you the final word, so it's not really fair for me to throw out that kind of insult and not give you a final chance. So go ahead.
Thank you on the show. I appreciate it, Dan.
All right. Representative, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.